Welcome to the dynamics of everyday life, where we demystify some tricky concepts and get to know ourselves a little bit better. So welcome back to the show, everyone. And today I'm very excited to have a guest with me there's a lot of stuff that we could talk about, Jo. Particularly around defence mechanisms. So today I'm delighted to have Jo Stimpson with me, and she is the founder of the Sales Only membership. Honestly, I can't recommend this enough. It's excellent. It's helped me no end. And a sales coach and mentor. So welcome to the show, Jo. I'm so happy to have you here.
Thanks to be here. Great to have a conversation. Great.
Well, let's dive straight in, because this is something that I found very challenging, and I know with the coaches that I mentor and supervise as well, sales is something that it's not just people who are British either. I always used to think it was like the very British way, but I think everyone struggles with sales. I mean, how do you see it coming across?
I think in real layman's terms, I think people run to the end without putting a process in place. So they go to this, in their mind, this very awkward, pushy, icky conversation, using their words, not mine, that they've got to justify their price, and somebody's going to be battering them down on their price, and they're going to just feel really awkward, and it's not going to go well. When in reality, if you have a sales process, that conversation never happens. Nobody suddenly just lands in this Zoom room with someone that they don't know, having to have this, really sweat-inducing conversation with someone trying to convince them to buy. That's just not the case. But that's where people go in their mind, because they think about it in double glazing or car sales, and it gets like lumped in all together, when actually my way of teaching is we find the right way for you. Because if I teach you what I do and you don't want to do it, you're not going to do it. It's as simple as that. So yeah, it's fascinating from a psychologically point of view of what people think about the word and what is the narrative that they tell themselves about it as well.
I think you're right. I think the key thing is the narrative, because it makes us feel quite anxious. And so then when we get anxious, we don't want to feel anxious at all. Our defense mechanisms kind of literally Rio Carnival everywhere. I can think, oh, I tell you what I could do. I could clean out the fridge, which is actually my least favorite job to do ever. But there are some times when I think I'd rather do that than think about sales, because I can feel how anxious it makes me.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah. It's that safety aspect, being rejection sensitive and resistant focused, and it just doesn't feel safe because you're being visible, you're putting yourself out there, and the more attached emotionally you are to the outcome, the more pressure is on it, and the more then it means, and then you won't be able to perform, because now it's got this massive pressure on it. I have to get this client, whether they're good, bad, or indifferent, and your behaviour changes, and you're not you. You're this version of you that then feels pushy, awkward, and icky, and you're demonstrating and reinforcing to your feedback loop that that's what sales feels like, because now you've talked it into existence. I don't want to be all of those things. And then you find yourself being all of those things on a call because it's not teed up right. You haven't got your process in place. Your pre-qualification isn't in the right order. So you end up like a premonition. You make it happen what you didn't want to happen.
Mm. Yeah, when you were talking, it just made me think of that phrase, I become a person that I don't like very much.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that's it. But from what you were saying, and I know that we've spoken about this before, the key seems to be in the preparation around it. So you're not just launching straight, you're not standing out on Oxford Street with a fluorescent sign.
Soundboard.
Yeah, yeah. There's a bit more work to it than that.
Yeah, there is, because you do need to go to the end to reverse engineer it. What is it you want? How many clients do you need? What is it you're actually going to sell? How, what have you got to? I was on a call about this earlier. Are you building something that you've got to bring into people's consciousness
Mm,
and educate, or is it something that people would normally buy, and now it's a positioning as
mm,
you're the go-to person in the way and your experience and all of those things? So you have to run to the end of the process to understand, okay, I want 10 more clients. The past is the great indicator of the future. So what did I
mm,
do to get the one that I've got? And how can I replicate that process 10 more times to get 10 more people?
mm,
How can I make it go quicker? Or
mm,
have I only got space to onboard one a month? In which case, over the course of a year, I've got my client base, and then I need to have lead magnets and waiting lists and things, so that if someone drops off, I've got someone to fill the space. But sales is just a process. You're just moving people through a chain of events, from attraction through to pre-qualification. Have they got the money? Have they got the time? Have they got the desire? Into, here's a space, this is how much it is. If you've got the money, let's start. But people don't break it down like that in their mind, because we start at the point most of the time with, I hate sales. I don't want to be a salesperson.
mm.
And it's like, well, this is one of the times I will get you to reflect back at yourself. The more you say that, it will be a direct result of the results that you're getting. See what I mean? The more times you say, I don't want to do it, like you say, oh, I hate the gym, or I hate running,
Mm.
you're not going to do the running. So
No.
if I hate selling, then I'm not going to be selling. I'm not going to be making my offer. I'm not going to be telling people what they can buy from me.
Mm.
So we have to break that bit down and get people to understand that the minute they open the doors to their business to the minute they close the doors, they are the sales director of their business.
And that was a real shift for me when you spoke about that the first time, that it's not something you can palm off. I mean, until we make millions, it's
Yeah.
not something that we can palm off to somebody else. It is a role that we have to play. And
Mm,
that for me made it a bit easier in thinking, okay, this is something that I need to step into. It's not part of my identity. I
mm.
am not, I mean, poor double glazing salesmen and car salesmen, they get such a bad, I mean, it's so 80s, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Um, they get such a bad press, but that isn't what I'm doing. It's about part of my work identity that I need to embrace this. And I also, therefore, as part of that, I have a role and I have things that I have to fulfill in that.
Yeah, because if you think of your business like a plant or a small child, depending on which one you can keep alive, um, some people say, I kill plants. I'm like, well, think about something you can keep alive. That's your job, is to keep your business alive.
Mm,
So you, and without sales, you don't have a business. So it is, I do see it as black and white as that. You are, if you're a solopreneur, you are the one person in your business that has full responsibilities to keep this thing alive.
mm,
Because if you're not doing it, this business is going to get a bit shaky over here. So unless you've got the money to outsource it, or the money to automate things, if you're coming from a standing start, particularly if you've never done a sales role before, it can be really, really daunting.
mm,
But it's a skill, it's not a personality trait, and it's something that you can learn. And you have to learn it.
mm.
There isn't a choice.
I love that reframe of it. It's something we can learn, because you do think, you almost hear that some people are like, oh, I'm a born salesperson. And you
Mm,
think, if I'm not, well, then clearly I can't do it. But actually, nobody's born learning how to ride a bike, are they? Or
no,
I remember when I was a young manager and I really struggled because I was only mid-20s and I was managing people older than me. I remember I used to say to myself all the time, nobody is born a manager. You have to learn
no,
how to do this.
yeah,
And it's the same
yeah.
with sales.
It is. You said it yourself just then. That's how I say it to people. When you first learn to drive a car or ride a bike or raise a kid or have a puppy or all of the things, everybody has to start at the beginning.
Mm,
Everybody has to learn, and sales is exactly the same. No, if it's the word that puts terror into people rather than seeing it and reframing it as service, because sales is
mm,
service. So the longer you sit, not talking about the thing that you do, that you know helps other people, you're doing a disservice to those people by not telling them that you can help them move them through whatever it is that they're going through. And I think the more you can think about it that way, the easier it becomes to talk about your thing, because you're like, everybody needs to know about this because I really can help you here, and you don't have to be sitting where you are, rather than feeling like it's time for money. It's a service thing. And people that tend to build a business and go into coaching or therapist, or it's all about the people. It's
mm,
all about helping people and being of service. So just
mm.
swap sales for service, and it makes it so much easier to deal with.
Such a nice, so much more British. Although I don't just have listeners in the UK, but it feels so much more palatable
Yeah.
is the word.
Yeah.
I would love to know, what are some of the best, in inverted commas, excuses that you hear from people as to why they don't do the sales stuff?
Oh, the standard ones. I haven't had time. People being too much in the delivery. So that's where kind of the feast and famine um, kind of analogy comes from, where at the beginning, because you need clients, you do all of this lead generation and you do all the things, you get clients, and then you stop. And I
Mm,
see it as playing the drums. Both have to happen at the same time. You have to be in delivery and you have to be lead generating. So, not having the time, I'm servicing my clients through to, I'm sorry I couldn't do that thing. The cat was sick, and, you know, or the dishwasher's leaked, or I couldn't, I've lost my phone, and it's like, no, it's it's a non-negotiable in your business. Now, it doesn't have to be all day, every day, but it does have to be consistent to some degree. And obviously, the more you do, the more money you're making, the quicker you'll make it. But just, I guess it comes down to people just thinking that it's something that they can ignore and it will just happen on its own. So if I just pretend that, if I just do something else, a bit like you're saying, go and clean the fridge, that distraction. If I don't think about it, it's not going to matter. But it will matter when all of a sudden the three clients that you did have all finish with you, and you sit there going, now what? And now you're back right round the Monopoly board, back to the start, rolling the dice and trying to get your sales machine going again. Do it once, do it at the beginning and keep it moving, and understand that you need to keep it moving, and not every time, because the longer you stop and start, the harder it'll get to get it moving for the sixth time. How likely are you to do what you know you need to do for the sixth time?
no,
Like
not.
being fit, being fit, getting a six pack, and then 4 years later, you're like, oh, I need to get fit. And now all the hard work you've got to do to get you back to where you are. Plus, you've lost 4 years in the process,
Yeah,
you know? It's the same thing.
It is. I mean, when you're talking, it is literally the dog ate my homework, isn't it? Which
Mm,
is, we've
yes.
got so many things in there. And they're understandable. Denial. We don't want to know that we have to do it. I always remember you sit there, you sit and talk about, like we're there crossing our fingers, thinking, oh, please, will somebody purchase? And
Mm,
it's not exactly what's the word I want? Productive sales technique. But there's also it's more than that. It's more than denial. There's rationalization. We can give ourselves really good reason as
mm.
to why we're not doing it. And we can be so clever in this. And, I'm sure I mean, I love a bit of rationalization, but I think one of the things that I do to avoid doing it is I make myself so busy. My days are so packed that I'm like, well, don't have the time for it, which is ridiculous because
Mm.
if I don't get bums on seats, then I'll have a lot of time to do things with.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's so normal, and I'm not perfect either, I'm the same. I'm like, oh, I need to pick up the phone and ring those people. And some days it's like, no problem, get it done, bash through the list. And other days it is like, oh, can I go and cut that bit of grass with a pair of scissors first? Because I can see it from here. We're all the same. But it goes back to, what is your why? Why are you in business? Because you need your why on the days when it's not coming together and the
Mm,
plan isn't working, and you need to just keep going. It's a white knuckle ride running your own business. It's you've got to hold your nerve sometimes and think, no, what I'm doing, it's going to work. It's going to work. If you're doing it for 2 years and it's not working, I'm going to say stop doing what you're doing. But if you've done it for 90 days, you should have some data to tell you whether you're on the right track or not. And
mm.
it's noisy out there. And the best salesperson your business will ever have is you, ever.
That is such a good point about it being noisy out there because I think this is where we can do ourselves a disservice as well. We can kind of like put a little tentative post out on LinkedIn or Facebook or something like that, and then think, oh, but nobody's bitten, and then just walk away from it. But actually, there is, I found a lot of the dull stuff about the consistency. You've got to keep
Mm, yes, but it's
doing it.
boring. It's relentless, and if you think you're talking about your business too much, I'm going to tell you you're not talking about it anywhere near enough. As founders, it can be really boring, because it is talking about the same thing all the time. But to your audience, they may not have even seen it or heard it.
Mm,
For every 1,000 people in your social media audience, organically, 0.05% of people see your content. I mean, that's shutting your eyes and throwing darts around in the dark, which is why I say you can't build a business on social media alone unless you've got
no.
a lot of money and you can chuck money at ads. But even then, that's not guaranteed. So you need to be doing other forms of lead generation as well as
Mm,
showing up on your social media. But it is showing up all the time. It is that, hi, me again, talking about my thing. Hello, me again,
mm,
talking about, it's that's just the nature of it. Waitrose, Marks and Spencers, Coca-Cola, they're still every day out there promoting their business. Hello, come and buy this thing from us. Christmas time, even worse, John Lewis and everything. And yet people could look at them if they put it into a traditional solopreneur business and think, well, why do they need to keep showing up? Everybody knows what Waitrose does and everybody knows what Marks and Spencers do, but that you can't rely on everybody just remembering. You've got to keep showing up and reminding people. That thing? Yeah, you can get that from me. I'm your go-to person. I'm
yeah,
your Marks and
you're
Spencers
right.
for sales.
Mm, yes, classy. I like that. Not the little of it, or not that Aldi and Lidl aren't classy, but they go for a different
I could
demographic.
have said Chanel, but
Do you
that would
know
have
why
been a
not? Um,
bit.
What was I going to say? But yeah, but you're right, because John Lewis will do things of like, oh, it's sale time. And you're like, oh,
Mm,
wasn't planning on buying anything from John Lewis. Let me
mm,
just see what's in the sale. Oh, look at that, add to basket.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's a repetition. It is that. Sell one thing to one person at one time, particularly at the beginning. Get known for the thing that you sell, and then you can start to differentiate and diversify and widen the thing. But make it really easy for you. I'm only talking about one thing to one person, and really easy for the audience to go, do I want that thing or not? Yes, I do. Great. If not, move by.
So helpful that, because as a, particularly when you're starting off for yourself and you sit there and you think, oh, what? I mean, because like a lot of coaches, I do a lot of things.
Mm,
But so it's like, what am I talking about? Do I talk about my podcast? Do I talk about my training course? Do I, or courses? Because I'm going to be doing another one soon. Um, what do I do? And actually, when you were saying, and other people have said to me, one thing to one person at a time,
mm,
that really helps, because you're like, okay, that I can do.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And it's not for forever. It's just to get you going.
Mm,
You've got 10 spaces. Going back to the other example, I've got 10 spaces I need to fill. I need to speak to this many people to get one. Okay, I need to ramp it up to get the 10 people that I need. When I've got the 10 people in, great.
mm,
Okay. Well, what have I learned from those 10 people? A bit like, yours. What have I learned from those people? Okay, they want something else. So I'll
mm.
go away and build something else. But from the outside world, I'm still continuing to talk about this thing because I can feel this other thing from the people that have been in there. So that's behind closed doors. So outwardly, I'm still only talking about this one thing, but I'm actually feeling other things from behind the scenes.
Yes,
Well, I
the
mean, so it doesn't confuse
observation.
your audience, but your business is getting the opportunity to grow. But to the outside world, I'm still talking about this one thing.
Yeah,
And that's how
I,
people feel masterminds or, small proximity containers. They do it in the DMs to the people that have already been through their other stuff because they don't
mm,
confuse their audience by talking about lots of things.
so important. What do you think the most successful people that you've worked with, what is it that they've done that set them apart from other people who are still in the kind of, oh, I'm finding it really sticky and tricky and icky and bit.
Two things I'd say. The first thing is that they have something called gumption. And in my new sales page, I do talk about Arthur saying to Iris about gumption and the heroines in films. So they have something about them that it's going to happen inevitably, but they don't know where to go. The second thing is that they get brave and they get to the point where it's just like, you know what I'm doing is not working. I'm going to have to do something else, and I'm going to have to put myself out there because they understand my, you're the best salesperson, get into sales director head, focus on one thing at a time and all of that. And the difference is people understand. It's important to me that people understand the steps and don't just rote learn it. Oh, Joe says go and do this, and then they do it and then they come back. Actually understand why people say what they say, why you're suggested to do that, and then make an active decision in your business whether you want to do that thing or not. Because again, you're not going to do it if you don't want to do it. So swap things out. But I think of all the people that I've worked with, and that's the most feedback I get is, Joe, you make us brave.
Mm,
You help us understand why we're doing the things and then support us to go and do it in the safety of being able to come back and talk about it.
mm.
And if I think about, from the membership side and from my consultancy side as well, I push in the nicest possible sense, encourage could be another word to say it, people to do the things that they wouldn't do on their own,
Mm.
because on your own for all the reasons that we said, you can talk yourself out of it. Whereas if you've got some level of accountability to be like, oh, I really don't want to do that, and someone saying, look, go and try it, do it for a week and then come back. And if you
Mm,
really don't like it, then we'll talk about it. But what tends to happen is all of that fear goes because they feel it's, well, I'm only doing it for a week.
mm,
And then that week becomes 2 weeks, and that 2 weeks becomes a month. And then all of a sudden it's just what they do. But if they'd
mm.
sat on their own, they I 100% know that what what their business needs them to do isn't what they've done. And my best example of this is the latter part of last year. I worked with a load of network marketers. I had 30 people in a 12-week program, and they were the bravest set of women I've ever worked with, because just did they understood it, and then they executed what was needed. And the personal growth and the bravery and the money that they made was just amazing, and I was very honored to have watched it play out. And some of them still message me now, and they've made different decisions that they wouldn't have made had they not come into that container, which is great. That's what it's all about. It's, how can I help someone not, you don't need to make the mistakes on your own.
Mm.
You don't need to. You just need to reach out for support, and if you've got the support and you understand it, then as long as you do the thing will work.
I love that. I really, really love it. And I absolutely, in terms of the understanding it, because if somebody asks you to do something and you don't understand it, then chances are you won't do it. But if you can understand the process behind it, you're like, ah, that makes sense. Right. So, if I do that, then I do that, then I do that. And the consistency, I've really noticed that on social media with a couple of people who kind of pitch up and then don't pitch up. And, a couple of people in particular change their business model every 5 minutes. And I
Mm,
think, well, I'd never give you any money
mm,
because I, what is it you're selling this
yeah,
week? And that's
yeah,
really stuck with me. I'm like, right, okay, I see now why it's important to be, this is who I am and this is what I do and this is what you will get from me.
yeah. Yeah, it is, because it's all the positioning and the perception. Like you say, you're chopping and changing every 5 minutes. You're like, well, are you actually going to be there for a 12-week program? Or are you suddenly going to decide, because nobody rocks up, that halfway through you're not going to attend the Zooms, and I'm going to get, left. And particularly now, no, a lot of people in the online space over the last 3 years have been burnt. People haven't delivered. People have taken money under, guises that they shouldn't have done. The moral compasses weren't, in my opinion, where they should be. Um, and we're all, if we've worked in the online space, we're all a little bit more skeptical. We've got
Mm,
money to spend, our businesses are generating money, but we're just being really clever where we're putting our money. Whereas before we would have gone, okay, that sounds great, I'll give that a try. So if it's a nice to have and it's being marketed as a nice to have, people are going to really struggle.
mm,
We did it in sales school today, sell the steak, not the fridge. you know don't sell it's 6 modules and Voxer support. People don't need another place to be. What
mm,
they want is the outcome. How's it going to make them feel? What version of themselves are they going to become? And what opportunities is that going to open by doing the thing that you sell?
mm. Such a good point.
you
Is
know
you're absolutely right. How am I going to feel after I've purchased this? What am I
mm,
going to get
yeah.
from it?
Yeah, how's it going to help me in my business? How's it going to help from a positioning point of view? What is it I'm going to learn? How much more confident am I going to be? How much more am I going to understand? How much more can I serve my clients better
Mm,
by being, if you go through your program, getting to that point where there's a deeper understanding so that they can again differentiate themselves and serve their clients better, from my point of view, where people just get more confident and calm and stop the sales chaos that is going on in their business by drawing a line in the sand and then taking each step, and making that decision. I'm going to learn how to sell, but my way.
Mm,
Great. That's, I'll meet you halfway up the room with my toes to the line. If you get out your seat and meet me halfway across the room with your toes to the line, then I'm all in to help you, because that's my job. That's my purpose, to help you build a business that you fall in love with and want to keep doing.
mm.
But if you sit in your chair with your arms folded, there's I can't do anything.
No, well, it's like the ethos of, when people say, who do you like to coach the best? I'm like, I like coaching people. You kind of want to
Mm,
do it. There's nothing more
yeah,
painful than sitting there with somebody who is not invested in the coaching process. And that tends to be people who are sent to coaching, not people who
yeah,
actually choose it themselves.
yeah, yeah. And that's all part of your messaging, to add on to the end. You know, I'm here for the people that want to do it,
Mm.
you know.
And there was something that you said as well that really stuck with me, and it's true. And I would definitely say that being in the sales only membership it's the safe place. Do I pitch up to everything? Absolutely not. Particularly when life throws you curveballs and, children end up with appendectomies and things like that. It's just not possible. But I know full well, and I've known, particularly when I have a new launch coming up, I know that this is the place to go, and I'm like, I know where to go, and I know that I'll be safe. And I can say pretty much anything to you around my sales, like, oh, I don't want to do this, or I'm struggling with this, and you're not going to look at me as if I'm stupid or anything like that. You'll be like, right, okay, well, let's tackle this,
Mm.
because that's what we're here to do. So it is, you're absolutely right. It's a safe place because I'm not an expert in it. You are. That's what I'm coming for. So
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
I I could talk to you about this all afternoon. Um,
Me too.
but I suspect we've both got other places that we need to be.
Yes,
Um,
definitely.
so I will make sure how everyone can get in touch with you. That will be in the show notes. But if there is one nugget that you would like people to take away from today, what would it be?
It would be that question. If you're not selling in your business right now, then who is? And if no one is, then it's time to put your big girl pants on and start to learn it, for sure. No, you need to understand it's a non-negotiable, pivotal part of your business that you can't get around. I'd hate to see people not try and close their business and make it mean things about them, that they can't run a business and they're not capable and they can't do it, when it's just a case of you just need to find your person and the place, like
Mm.
with anything. No.
That is such a good point, because we could make it about ourselves that we can't do this. Well, you're right. You can't drive a car without lessons, can you? So
No.
why would you be
No.
able to sell without help?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And it's not about me. It's because there's hundreds of places people could go. They read books, YouTube, Google themselves to death. Uh, I don't mind what option they take. I just hate the thought of people sitting in their business saying that their business isn't doing what they want it to do, when they're not actually doing the thing their business needs them to do the most.
Mm,
And as you say, sitting crossing their fingers, closing their eyes, hoping that, the moon and the order fairies are going to deliver. And I'm sorry, they're just not going to come. You've got to put the work in.
that
It's
is,
hard. It's hard. You've got to do it.
it is, but unfortunately, it is. It's nothing good comes easy.
Absolutely not. And the harder you work for your business in the beginning, the more it will reward you as time moves on. It will pay you back tenfold, all of what you do for it to keep it alive in the beginning. It will reward you for it. There's absolutely no way that it can't if you continue to do the work that keeps it alive.
I
Yeah.
love that. Thank you so much, Jo. I've absolutely loved having you on the show.
It's been fab.
Yeah, it's been really good. I will make sure that we put all your details in the show notes. And if anybody's on the fence, I can heartily recommend Jo's Sales Only membership.
Thank
You
you.
put your life, blood, and soul into it. You give so much for it. So I would share it with anybody because I think it's definitely worth people having a look at. So
Thank you. Appreciate that. Thank
my
you.
absolute pleasure. Thanks ever so much, Jo. Talk to you soon.
You're welcome. Bye.
Thanks for listening to this episode of The Dynamics of Everyday Life. Don't forget to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. As well as producing this podcast, The Dynamics of Everyday Life has lots more psychodynamic fun going on, and you can find out more at dynamicsofeveryday.life.